All right. Okay. How about Parks and Recreation? You have a 2-minute summary of what happened?
I have a very minimal report because I think that the priority was in this room and not over there. But the group that was in Parks and Rec conference room took a look at the charts and the maps that we have in there, and the discussion really focused on an item that was not up there, and that is about the future of the railroad track that goes from Myers Park up to College Lane. And the people that were in the room would like to see the town making a plan around that future so that a trail can be considered. And we know that may be a controversial topic, but if it's not planned for now, then it would go by the wayside. So that was something that was important to the people that were in there. And I would invite, I know that, as I said, there was most of the topic areas here were this room and that room. But please take a look at what's in your packet tonight and give us some comments about the Parks and Trails piece that's in here. We want to hear from people. If you have time tonight, the maps and the charts are on the wall in the rec room, conference room right down the hall. Please go take a look at them. There's a lot of good visuals in there. Okay.
Susan, do you want to do
Sure.
the town center?
So our group was on the hamlets in the town center. Our discussion primarily focused on the town center. We did take a few minutes to try to conceptualize what hamlet is in terms of defining the term. And from my observation of the comments, I would say that it for many of us would reflect that concept of neighborhood, and particularly a neighborhood that's focused around services and a sense of community. And the comprehensive plan update goal to preserve, maintain, and enhance the small neighborhood's historical and natural character of existing hamlets seemed not controversial in our group. And so I'm going to move on to the question of town center. John reminded us that in 2006 the town center concept was included in the comprehensive plan, and that in 2010 the town contracted with, I believe, Holt Architect, if I have that correct, for the concept development. That has resulted in a request for proposals, and there are several proposals, I believe 4 that have been or in various stages of consideration by the committee that is reviewing those RFPs. That's what RFP stands for, request for proposal. There are lots of acronyms that get thrown around in this business, so that's your insight on that. There was a question about the comprehensive plan update and making sure that it is, the process is as transparent and solicitous of community involvement as possible. And certainly that's why we are here, that's why you are here, and we hope that you will spread the word to your friends and neighbors. Questions and concerns about issues such as crime, congestion, noise, lighting, quality of life issues, and potential tax burden on community members. Members of the RFP committee were actually in our group and were able to talk about the fact that much of this, although not all, has been discussed by the RFP committees, and those notes, of course, are available to you publicly. A question was raised about the cost of town land, and in fact, Kathy clarified that it was purchased by us at a very low rate and is assessed for much more than was paid by us. And by us, I mean, not just right? Okay. A concern was raised about making sure that we consider other development in lieu of a town center in terms of perhaps promoting tourism as an economic driver instead of just a town center. And concerns about helping to define what quality of life means, as quality of life seems to be a great driver of support for the idea of a town center. Quality of life being assumed to mean closeness of services, availability of services, not having to go to downtown Ithaca or even to the town of Lansing for things like doctor, banking, etc. And the idea that this existing Lansing market has already increased the convenience of members in the town, and perhaps we want to see that happen more. And a question and comment about how more dense development would potentially take the pressure off of
here?
Well, we've got a lot of notes. I don't know if I can summarize it quite as well as Maureen did. And we've got 6 pages of notes, and I don't think we had a...
There was no consensus?
No, we didn't try and make one. We wanted to just sort of get all the ideas. But in terms, we asked 3 different questions. One about what do you see as community character when somebody says we want to preserve the character of our community. And the folks mentioned, of course, the rural character, but as distinct from the farm and agricultural lands, the character not just of the residential areas, but of the open green spaces, the character as it applies to wetlands and other areas that we want to protect, maintaining our beautiful residential areas, treating farmland as distinct from, again, the small farms, the agricultural farms are distinct from
the commercial farms, the larger scale farms that might be owned by non-residents or that sort of thing.
recognizing the character of both as equally important. Maybe recognizing open spaces needing to be shed. The character as also meaning, it didn't quite all come down as a nice list character, but folks mentioned the environmental impact of the big farms and looking at that a little more carefully. Basically, I think they were talking about balance. Let's try and model what we've got and look at the interconnectedness of the different pieces that we're talking about. And it's a big job when you start looking at land use, so that's why.
And there wasn't a consensus really on any specific topic that we talked about wholeheartedly. I think there was people in different directions on pretty much everything we went over. But there was a list of very valid concerns and comments that are definitely worth summarizing and getting back to the rest of the group.
Our second question, we talked about what is it you think of when you think of sustainability and sustainability of land use in Lansing. Folks mentioned starting with smaller farms, promoting local business farms and business, balancing the growth of apartments with school capacity and reaching a sustainable level there. Again, modeling more of the interconnected impacts of traffic in schools and neighborhoods. Looking at the dollar impact on the long term. Allowing seniors to age in place and to find ways to accommodate the young families.
To be able to affordably continue to live here when they can't necessarily they can't necessarily afford to. They can't. Logistically, not being able to live in their existing homes, but not being able to afford to move somewhere else. I think was the concern. But thank you for the levity. We really needed that.
We talked about what were the types of housing that you'd like to see as part of the land use planning. Folks discussed cluster housing and the way that helps preserve some of the land around and use less acreage per house. We talked about the need for houses in the middle range between 2,000 and 3,000 as something that's not here and needed in town. Let's see, what else? The need maybe to work a little more closely with the village, because the way the village will help us provide some of these needs so that we can also then preserve what it is we want to preserve the farmland.
And even regionally beyond the village with the Ithaca and the county to address some of our housing needs in a more appropriate way.
And lastly, just to look a little more closely at where this growth is coming from and how we want to guide it.
And I would like to add, because I think this was new to the community's thinking, that the housing that exists up in the agricultural areas, in light of the ag district
haven't frankly addressed it. And we don't yet seem very connected to the ag plan in terms of being able to do that. But I think that's an important task that belongs in integrating our thinking in the land use, a hard problem.
Question to Kathy, has the town board actually had a discussion of the ag plan yet?
No, it hasn't been presented to the town board yet. It will be, we've had a couple of, actually open forums, if you will. I don't know how many people here attended. Monica Ross presented at that point. She's still working on it, so it's still in the draft form. She'll be presenting again. And then it will come to the town board, and then we'll look at it and we'll decide whether or not we accept it. Then what transpires at that point is there are a number of suggestions already in there as to how to protect ag land, and we'll have to decide if we can implement any of those things, some of those things, all of those things, none of those things. It'll be a matter of taking a look at it. This is, I think one of the things we should do, quite frankly, is have a farm committee. Have an ag committee that meets maybe monthly or something to help us do this, because the things that were said at the beginning when the ag committee started to meet, and now that they have some proposals, they don't even agree with all of it. So it's a real work in progress. But the whole idea is to at some point bring it to the town board. We'll look at it and we'll accept it or not, and then possibly try and implement some of their suggestions. Because don't forget, this was an ag committee, it was farmers that were on this committee.
Right, I was just speaking.
Right, so the next step, I think, as Susan is saying, is that the whole town needs to start weighing in, not just farmers, but how is this going to fit in with the whole comprehensive planning process, and the town board's going to have to weigh all sides of the issue and figure out what's going to end up working best for the town. How about gas drilling with hydrofracking? Is there a quick report on that?
Yeah,
Okay.
we took a look at some of the maps, and you can look at these afterwards if you like, but the environmental, generic environmental impact statement from 2011 showed the Marcellus, which is this green, which does include parts of Tompkins County. The fairway, which was projected at that time to be the productive area, the most developable, was called the fairway, and that went all the way over into the Catskills and not quite into Lansing at all. And then in this map shows you northern Pennsylvania, no drilling in New York State, of course, yet. The most productive is near Broome County in Susquehanna and Bradford counties, where the shale, Marcellus shale, is thick enough and deep enough and the right maturity to be productive. In Lansing, we have a thickness of perhaps 100 feet thick of Marcellus shale, and it might be 2,000 feet down. So what we're seeing is that that would not be a very productive play, whereas 200 foot, 300 foot thick Marcellus shale that's at least 4,000, maybe 6,000 feet deep would have the kind of pressure and the retention of the mature gas production. And that's what's happening in Pennsylvania, northern Pennsylvania, the gas plays down there. So it's not likely that that Lansing would be done anytime soon, if ever, if we have, so the process that we discussed, I was on the gas drilling committee, oversight committee, along with Tom Butler, is that we should establish a moratorium, define information, get the information we need, and then we should have a comprehensive plan speak to that and address whether we should have a ban. Once the comprehensive plan has spoken to that and the town board agrees with that, then a ban, if permitted by the highest court of New York State to be land use, home rule, and then that should be implemented. The survey indicated that close to 3/4 of the people surveyed were opposed to development of gas The election day survey, maybe some of you were involved in that. We did a survey in the last election. 60%, I think, all over the election districts were saying that they wanted a ban. The survey didn't ask for a ban, but the election day survey, granted it wasn't a random survey, it was people who wanted to participate. But it's very likely that the sense of the community is against gas drilling. And the danger really is, because it's less likely to happen, the collateral damage that could happen from production wastewater used on our roads or in injection wells. One of the things that I've heard recently is that Marcellus Shale is maybe down 1,000 to 2,000 feet, and the whole salina level that we're mining, Cargill's mining, is around 2,300. So they're very close. If you look at some of the geological texts from long ago, the fractures in this area, this peneplain area that used to be seas and oceans over the many millions of years, 300 million years for salina, they all fracture. They're sedimentary, they fracture, and putting any pressure in there really could impact a lot of our water sources and potentially the salt mines. Let's see if there's anything else. Yeah, I think I've covered what we're talking about. Anything else?
Yeah, basically, there doesn't appear to be any gas that's worth drilling in Tompkins County in general, and Lansing is even further north, southern part of the county. But collateral impacts from disposal of fragment filters, that's certainly an issue.
Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate the reports. So what we wanted to do to close out the meeting was just hear from you on any questions or comments that you have on either of the subjects we've already been talking about. Yep.
These great songs can maybe somehow brought together and put on the website.
Yes,
Oh, yes.
that's the plan.
Absolutely.
That is the plan, yes. Yep. So we're going to put all the notes together, make a kind of a meeting summary out of it and put it on the website. Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
When's the next public input point on this process?
What do you guys think? My time is winding down, as I said, in the process, but I assume there are going to be many, many more public meetings and focus group meetings, so I don't want to make this
We are in the process now of interviewing for a new planner because John's going to leave us, he thinks. I'd like to lock him in that room and not let him out. Both planners have extensive experience with doing exactly what we're doing today. And it will be really nice. John has been on staff part-time and done so much part-time. It's been truly, truly amazing. So this has been so good tonight, and we need to do more of these things. Certainly about the comp plan going forward and development in town, and there's probably other subjects that we really need to meet about. But we need somebody that knows how to do this, somebody that knows how to do charrettes, and somebody who knows how to bring us all together, and also, quite frankly, how to advertise for this type of thing, so that we can get people out. You know, you think you're doing as much as you can to advertise, and people say, I didn't know that, I didn't hear about it. Well, short of sending out mail all the time, which quite frankly is very expensive. And I've often thought maybe we should just do is put ads in the shopper. If you'll please all just open the shopper up, just for whatever we put in there.
How much does that cost every time you do that? Because I was shocked.
In the shopper or the mailing?
Any of those methods. The cheapest mail method you can do.
The cheapest, $4,000.
Okay.
So you can't do that. The shopper's like $200. So please, that's a great thing, I think, is to try that. So we want to do this as much as possible.
Any of you who have email, connections, send it out to other people.
Bring your friends, bring your neighbors.
Why not just put up a big sign by the road that has the announcement?
And a name, well, we could.
And just say, this meeting, and that way people won't have to bend and look and wonder what the meeting's about.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
So many of these roads, everybody passes by, so they'll see it.
That's a good idea. We can do it maybe at each corner.
And we have much more liberal signage now.
Yeah.
As long as it's not over 32.
I can't thank all
told you enough for tonight, but what I found hard for me is that I was torn between going
Yes.
to one
Yes.
to another. So not that we all don't want to come out for other nights, but it would be nice to have a night that, let's say it's Parks and Recreation.
I think that's what I was
A night
thinking.
that
Exactly.
is, town use,
I
land
think
use.
you're totally right. I think you're right. Yeah, absolutely. Because it's really interesting to hear what everybody has to say, what all your neighbors have to say, and it really is. It's a great thing to do. So we'll do more of these. Let's get the new planner on board. John insists on leaving. And then we'll see if we can run with this into some things. For
And
sure.
again, look to the website and use the comment forums or any other way that you want to send comments into the town, because that's the best way to get your input in. And listen for future meeting announcements. So there's a long way to go with the process. Although the committee has made really good progress to this point, there are a lot of other subjects to address that haven't even been talked about yet. More specifics on housing, something about transportation, something about community infrastructure, and that's a very complicated subject and controversial as well. So really, none of these subjects are not controversial. There's not going to be 100% agreement on anything. But I think what the committee wants to hear is all the different viewpoints, and they'll be able to put it together in a way that hopefully isn't biased. It'll talk about all the ranges of interest and put those into the plan and present that to the town board, and the town board then will, have more meetings and more input and eventually, hopefully, adopt it as a plan.
And all of the comp plan meetings are also, any meeting we have is open to the public. So go on the website, and if you're interested in something that's going on, come to the meeting. And everybody's welcome, for sure. And we'll try and get something across, so everybody can see it. And I have to thank the comp plan committee, because they have been doing a wonderful job. I don't know if you know how many, literally hundreds of hours they've put into doing this. And we really, really appreciate everything they've done. Something I certainly didn't have any expertise in, and these guys have been great. They've been volunteering their time.
So does anyone else have any concerns or other things you want to talk about? We probably should be wrapping things up. I'm willing to stay all night if you want.